What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Adrienne Montanez, but if you're newly subscribing, thank you so much for subscribing. I see slowly my subscribers are going up, but I'm just trying to get more content to you guys. But clearly by today's thumbnail, it's going to be a little bit of a chismear, maybe like a girly chit chat, but I think the opposite. Anybody can benefit from this. If you are somebody that feels like they have been sucked into or sold into this false vision of hookup culture being overly glorified positively when it comes to just experimenting and, you know, seeing what you like and seeing what's out there, blah, 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 blah. There's so much more to it. So if you are somebody that feels like they've been sucked up in, just maybe you've been drowning in the matrix of it, then this video is definitely for you. Quick disclosure, I am not in this lifestyle, clearly no more. These are just past experiences I thought I'd share. I am married. You know, I'm never going to glorify my relationship like a lot of people do on social media, but that's a different subject. But I thought I'd talk a little bit about this, especially because I talk to so many younger girls, like all the time. And I really appreciate these younger girls in their 20s that really value my personal experience, my actual honesty when it comes to dating, or if they're in situations. I mean, I was talking to a girl recently and she was telling me how she was dating this guy and it was going great. Little did she know, like, and he just came out like, oh, you know, I'm married, but, you know, pretty much he fell in love with this other girl and with my girlfriend at the time. And I was just like, you know, and it's just, we're living in a time where I think, what is it? Polygamy and sneaky links and side pieces. It's just the roster. It could be overly saturated, but it's also really, it can be really dark, especially as a woman, and it could be a little dehumanizing in my opinion. And somebody who's lived in this for a bit while, and somebody who's experienced this, if this can help another girl out, maybe you're trying to level up, how, then this video is for you. So just taking back, hookup culture, as always, I feel like it's always been around. It's always been around. I was super obsessed with the Playboy industry back in the day, just that whole ambiance, until I actually learned what these women went through in that industry. Mind you, I used to waitress part-time at a strip club. I also used to work at nightclubs, just in general in my 20s. Anything I had to do to make money, to pay for school, and to take care of my mom or my family, and just bringing in money for myself, I did what I had to do. You know, I had to hustle. I hate to say this, but I feel like I was projecting a lot of my personal demons on the opposite sex. And you're probably like, what does that mean? Daddy issues. I had really crappy daddy issues. Granted, I do have a father. My sister and I, we have different relationships with our parents. And I love my parents. I don't hate them. I choose not to have a relationship with my father, but I feel like some of the things that I missed out on as a child and things in my personal traumas just in my past youth, I feel like that definitely reflected in my 20s, especially in hookup culture. Because there was a time I was suppressing my feelings with just, honestly, just getting attention from another man, you know? And I'm not saying over here like I slept with a bunch of people. That's not what I'm saying either. Did I hook up before? 100%. Have I had a one-night stand? Yes, I have. Did I feel great about it? No, not really. And you learn about yourself, but also too, like, energy transfers. And I feel like I didn't really value or love the woman or the young girl that I was. I feel like I was suppressing her. It's like somebody who is taking drugs, or somebody who's on, or an alcoholic, you know. It's like, what do? You suppress your feelings and you numb it with something that's going to make you feel great. And for me, it was like seeking like male validation at the time for me, or just getting that attention from the opposite. It did something for me because it's something that I did lack. I didn't have that really close, tight-knit relationship when it came to my father, you know. He was very machismo, very masculine, you know, but he didn't want to deal with those emotions. And my mother carried, which you see in most relationships, you know, women do carry about 80% of the emotional stress, especially in a household with, you know, with children, whether you're married or whatnot. In this video, hopefully this can help out another girl, but, you know, dating is hard nowadays. You know, we're living in a time where all of the dark is over glorified. Like I said, sneaky leads, polygamy. You see these rappers, or just anybody nowadays, you know what I mean? I mean, open marriages, you know. I actually went to a wedding not too long ago too, and the girl, her and the man, they're swingers, you know. They're married, but they're swingers. And it's like, for me, it's like, I'm not judging. People gotta do what's best for them. It's your life. Live your best life. But at the end of the day too, it's really easy to get sucked into something when you know it's not good for you, but it's suppressing those feelings. So how do you move forward from it? And for me, I knew I was in a really dark space when I had a friends with benefits at once upon a time. And if he was in a relationship, we obviously didn't do anything. If I was in a relationship, we obviously didn't do anything. But if we were both single, it was like a safe space. I got to a point, I remember in my 20s, where I was just so like, I don't want to deal with any other guy. Like, I didn't want to deal with anybody else. I just felt so like tired of being played or misled or just whatever the case. I was a girl looking for love. And I feel like some of that stems from my childhood or just our childhood, because, you know, growing up, like, let's be real, the Disney aspect, you know, you're gonna get older and you're gonna find your Prince Charming, and that's just not real, you know. Even too, like, I was watching somebody on TikTok recently, and how the wedding culture is being oversaturated. It's just like it feels like a competition. It's not even about the person who you're marrying anymore, or like finding like the love of your life. Now it's like, where's the venue, or who had the best display of asking so and so to be the maid of honor, or the bridal shower, or whatever the case is. It's like everything around it is becoming more important than the actual meaning, which is why so many things when it comes to morals, I feel like, are being washed away in traditions and cultures. I remember when I was at a place with my friends with benefits, I guess you can call it that, and we ended up having like a decently, like, I guess you could say it was a friendship, and you're probably like, but it was, because it was somebody that I wouldn't see myself fully dating, but it was somebody that I felt safe with. And I knew in that it came to a point, especially like in my mid-20s, I don't remember how old I was. I want to say maybe 24 or 25. I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. I got to a place where I just really wanted to be better, but how? So a lot of times when you have to be better, you have to peel back the layers, and it's facing those traumas that triggered you. So at 24 years old, I decided to start going to therapy. I never told my family, never told my mom or anybody. It's just something that I started seeking on myself, and I started kind of peeling these wounds that I've just been covering with nonsense, whether it was going out with a random guy, whether it was hooking up with my friends with benefits, or whatever the case is. I just felt like I needed to free myself, you know? Even though I was at a strip club, my girlfriends were strippers, and I was waitressing, I still wasn't in that. I was still affiliated. Like, that energy transfers. And it's like, when you give yourself to somebody, like, you don't get that back. I mean, we're living in a time now where, let's be real, these men think that they could take you on like a nice, or just like a basic meal, which is $50, $75 dinner. And they think, okay, cool, I took in a nice dinner. Like, when are you going to pay up? When are you going to pay up the cookie? When am I going to hit it? I remember one time I went on a date with this guy. I think it was like my third date. I remember we were at dinner, and I was like 23 years old, and I just got my boobs done. And literally, he looked at me, and we were talking, and out of nowhere, he was just like, so I'm gonna be honest, they just our third date. When are we gonna have sex? Like, straight business. Like, straight business. And I remember I was so turned off, and I remember that was like the last straw for me, where I was just like, mind you, I was just going on dates. Like, I was a serial dater, meaning like I just went to dinner, I went to coffee dates. Like, I'm a social butterfly. I gotta feel a connection to want something more. I always tell men too, like, just in general, and maybe too, like, I ended up marrying somebody who's almost 10 years older than me because I prefer them older. If I were to get divorced tomorrow, he needs to be minimal over 40 years old for me. I cannot be with somebody younger. That's just me. But I remember I was just like, I just couldn't do this anymore. So going forward, I started going to therapy. I started doing like shadow work. I started like really peeling back those layers. I really started to free myself. Traumas that I was just kind of just suppressing, my life started to shift. I noticed myself to kind of stepping away from, like, for me, I remember when I stopped working at the nightclub with one of my girlfriends part-time, I started putting more emphasis into my second job. You know, I went back to school. I actually started just like, I let God bring in the people that really needed to be around me. I started falling back on certain relationships, you know, certain friendships. Just felt like I said, I started to do the work, but I also started to peel the layers. I started to do the work. I was like, whatever I need to do to evolve, to be better, to free myself from this environment, let it be done according to your will. And I remember just people slowly started to just like fall off from me. I didn't start hearing from people. I didn't hear from certain people anymore. Even certain guys started to like just fall back on me. And I remember too, I remember a year later, I ended up changing my phone number. And I just started practicing different habits. I started going more to the gym to accept this new life that I've been praying for. Mind you, I wasn't really that religious either at the time. Did I believe? Yeah, but did I fully practice like the way I do now? No. But I just knew there was something bigger for me. And a lot of times, if you want to be better and you want to evolve, you have to be that 1%, and you have to be willing to do the work that most people will never do. So for instance, like I just did my first bodybuilding show a month ago. I did 4 months of dieting and conditioning to get myself there. Can anybody do that? No, it's the 1%er. I knew I had that type of drive in my 20s. I just didn't know where to start. And I think we're living in a time too, like there's so many self-help. There's so much more you can actually actually do so much more now to help yourself than what in my opinion, for what I experienced. Because when I was going through all this in my early 20s, there was no Instagram stories, there was no TikTok, there was barely Snapchat. I was using Voxer at the time, so if you know Voxer, comment down or leave me an emoji down below. I used to do Voxer with certain people, you know, and I had a sidekick, so it was just totally different. I feel like there's more resources now, but it's so easy to get caught up on social media, which is the next one, honestly. So first one, I have therapy. Therapy is one that helped me kind of pull away from hookup culture, just because I had somebody outside kind of critiquing and letting me know, like, this is what you're doing. You're projecting X, Y, and Z on these people. Or even too, like in certain relationships, a couple boyfriends I had, I feel like I was projecting that onto them as well. And it's like, it's not their problem, it was mine. But it was just, it was like that fight or flight mode. Like, what do you do? Second is social media. I really think it's really helpful. I think it's really beneficial if you can just take the time and actually go through your social media and not consume or follow people or just anything that's going to affect or trigger you internally. You know, I do this from time to time, like right now, whenever I upload this, but like I deactivated my Instagram for like a couple months. Sometimes I like to take those breaks. I just don't want anything of it. I don't want to be access to it. I love TikTok because I use it for so much more. TikTok I use for food, organizing, whatever, but it's like, it's easy to get caught up in it. But sometimes too, like if I'm feeling some type of way, I like to look it up. I like to look at something like quick seasonal depression hits, like what can I do, anxiety, instant panic attack, what are 3 resources, or you know what I'm saying. I feel like there's a lot of benefit, but also too it could be very toxic. So your social media too, and also too, like be limited. Like not everybody should have access to you. I know we're living in a time like anybody could find anybody, but you don't need to answer everybody. You don't need to, you don't owe anybody anything. So I know there's people that don't have a spiritual background or just a belief or whatever you want to say, but like I really do believe energy transfers. I'm sure you've seen a lot of this too. There is a term for it, I forget what it's called because I'm just kind of freestyling this from my heart right now, but like you can sleep with somebody, it doesn't matter if you're attracted to them, you can have whatever chemistry, but it's like you don't know what barriers they're carrying. I believe if people are battling their own demons or their own struggles or whatever they, maybe it could be something evil in their soul, I don't know. I believe like when you give that yourself to somebody, I feel like some of that can transfer to a certain extent. Maybe that's a bit dramatic or extreme, but that's really like how I was feeling, especially the older I've gotten, especially like in my 20s as I was evolving, because I did some dumb shit too, and I made some dumb protocol. I just made some dumb choices just like anybody else. I feel like it's just worse now. You know what I mean? You got people that are out here praying for people, like on evil, doing voodoo, hexes. Like you just don't know people's true intentions. And I feel like, I know it can get lonely, but it's like I'd rather be alone. And I always tell these younger girls too that I talk to, you'd rather be by yourself than to honestly take in any type of darkness or anything negative extra that you really don't need. We already have enough negative in the world. You feel me? I feel like hookup culture is lying to so many women, but most importantly, it's really affecting a lot of women mentally. People don't realize like it does affect you eventually, you know. And for me, it was, you know, for me it got to a point where I feel like when I had that one date, I was at a steakhouse, and when he told me like after the 3rd date, he's just like, so when are we gonna have sex? It just, that right there, it did something for me. And that's when I remember I was just like staying with my friends with benefits. And after that, I was just like, I don't want nobody. Like, I don't want anything. And I kind of went into this like little hermitville for like about a good 2 years. I just was really just to myself, you know. And then I remember when I started to go back to church on my own, I met my husband literally like 2 months later. And you just don't know what can happen. And a lot of times people, I know we see a lot of this victim mentality. I hate to say it, but it's just like, I can't find love, or I can't this, or I don't want to go outside, or whatever the case is. But it's like, what are you doing to free yourself? How are you going to fend for yourself? You know, like people, I know there's some people out here that really depend on other people for their happiness or whatever the case is. But like, if you don't have the confidence and the self-discipline and the will to do it yourself, how is that ever going to happen? For instance, this is like so left field, but like Kobe Bryant, I think he's one of my favorite players. I'm a big Laker fan. I love basketball. But the Mamba mentality, it's working that 1%. What can I do to be better? You know, and I remember too, like even in his workout regimens, he would go to practice at where they had like 5 a.m. He would get to practice like 2 hours before, and he'd be doing drills before his teammates would get there. You know, what extra work did he do to be better? You know, to get out of that, you know. And I feel like with hookup culture, like what could we do to get out of it? Take recognition and actually take a step back for yourself. people just want to cover everything with just, I feel like too, there's just so many people nowadays that just, well, you know, I grew up in a single household, or, oh, I was this. Like, I've had some terrible things that have happened to me, you know, and experiences I don't wish upon anybody, not even my worst enemy. But it's like, I can't victimize myself. I still have to move forward. How do I heal from it? And sometimes you don't fully ever heal, but you have to find a way to cope with it and to grow and evolve in a positive way. Most importantly, peacefully. This is actually a video too, like, there's no disrespect. I'm all for people living their best life on how they want. I'm not here to judge anybody. Trust me, I'm not judging nobody. I'm the last person to judge. I will never be that type of person. That's never been me. Trust me. And I have some people that I do associate with, and if you heard the things that I really do be talking to and dealing with, you'd probably be like, side-eye judging. I don't judge. I've been through too much. I got other problems to deal with. I'm the last one to judge. But I will say this, if you are going to be out there, be casually hooking up, whatever the case is, make sure you're being smart, make sure you're using protection, you know what I mean? And I just be really mindful of who you give yourself to. And I just kind of wish I had more of that guidance. And this is where I guess you could say that daddy issue came in. I didn't have that type of relationship with my parents. I didn't talk about sex. I didn't talk about any of that. I had to learn stuff like the hard way, you know? And then my sister was a teen mom. She, you know, she had a baby young. You know, she had to grow up fast, and, you know, her perspective on that totally changed also. For me, I was just, there was so much brokenness where we couldn't talk to each other about certain things, at least in my dynamic. I had to really figure this out myself. And I'm actually kind of glad I did the way I did, because it's made me the woman that I am today. There's a different self-love that I have within myself. And I feel like I had to go through those personal traumas and those experiences, those dark moments, even with certain men, to get to where I'm at today. So to anybody out there who's contemplating, or maybe you're just in this weird place when it comes to dating or whatever the case is, especially being involved with hookup culture, take a step back. It's okay. If you even feel confused or you just feel like you're lost in it, like, take a step back and just know, like, you don't have to be a part of it. You know, they're really lying to you. And if you feel like you're dealing with a little more anxiety and depression, because at the time I was feeling so much more depression than anything, because I feel like I let certain people's energies affect me. Sex is the biggest physical energy transfer. Like, it really is. Like, when you're letting somebody into you, like, it's a whole other side. I wish I had more of this depth when I was in my 20s, because I just kind of numbed it. You know, plus I would drink, you know, and I would smoke. You know, I wasn't in the best headspace. You know, I was just kind of living fast, getting wherever the money was at. I had to hustle and bring it. You know what I'm saying? But, like, looking back now, and especially with some of these young girls that I do talk to, if I can give them the best advice I can just from my personal experience, and it can help out somebody else, then so be it. I'm sorry this video was also kind of like all over the place. It's just been kind of weighing on my heart in some of these situations I've actually talked to recently too, and I just wanted to share a little bit of mine. Like, you know, I'm somebody who struggled with this very, very much, and I used to honestly suppress my personal feelings with male attention, just being, you know, and honestly, my friends with benefits was a big part of that. Big part of that. And he knew that too. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I know it was kind of all over the place, but I just felt like filming this very raw from the heart and just from my personal thoughts and experiences. And just know, like, it's over glorified. I feel like social media is over glorifying what hookup culture is, when really, realistically, it's actually hurting you more than anything in the end. At least it hurt me. So until the next video, I will definitely catch you on the next one. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Drop me anything down below. Hopefully you appreciate this, and I'll catch you on the next one.